Oh, we
can talk?
We are going?
All right,
Okay,
we're live.
shit. Hello and welcome to the Baldur's Gate Siege of Dragonspear stream.
We are an extremely professional company that knows how to behave professionally when live on the air. This is not something a lot of people know, but we're actually very highly trained professionals in live streaming technology, which is why we always know when our stream is about to start.
We're ahead of the game.
Why don't you introduce yourself, Phil?
So I'm Phillip Daigle, and I'm the lead designer for Baldur's Gate Siege of Dragonspear, which is coming out on March 31st in 2016, which is this year if you're paying attention.
I'm Amber Scott, and I'm the marketing and publishing coordinator at Beamdog, and formerly a writer, though I'm still kind of a writer. And I did a lot of writing for Siege of Dragonspear, which we're going to be playing today.
It's true. We are going to be playing it today. But before we begin, as is sort of our standard operating procedure for these streams, we're going to give away a prize.
Prizes!
Prizes are
Everyone
always,
loves prizes.
Beloved, and we're a beloved company.
So if you've watched our previous streams, you'll know that we frequently give away t-shirts, like the one Phil's wearing, only generally black. And Phil can show off one right now in a professional manner, which we've practiced many times. And based on some feedback that you, our beloved fans, have given us, I've actually ordered a bunch more t-shirts in varying sizes. So no longer will we have larges only. The t-shirts haven't actually come in yet. So if you do win a prize and you want something other than a large, you may have to wait a couple weeks for it to ship. But I think that's a fair trade-off for getting a free t-shirt with an exclusive Siege of Dragonspear logo on it.
You can't get this t-shirt anywhere else.
It's true.
Unless you make it yourself, but please don't do that
No,
because
do
that
it,
makes
do
it
it.
less special.
Do it and then send me a picture, and then I'll put it on our Pinterest board. If you would like to enter the draw for a free t-shirt, type in !prize, all one word, in the chat room right now on the Twitch stream, and we'll pick a random winner. And while you're typing !prize in order to win this awesome t-shirt, I'll talk a little bit about what's happening next week. Siege of Dragonspear is releasing. I don't know if you've heard, this is the expansion to Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition that we made, which is coming out March 31st on Beamdog for Windows and PC. No, Windows and Mac. And then on Steam as well for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And we're going to be doing a stream that day. I'll be doing like a newsletter and blog post next week with all the details, but it's going to be a little more special than our regular streams. We're going to have be showing off Dragonspear, obviously, as it releases. We're going to have a special guest in, Stephanie Wolf, who's the voice actress for Savannah. She's going to tell us a little bit about what it's like to work in the VO industry. And we'll have more t-shirts to give away as prizes. And yeah, it's going to be a really good time.
It will be a great time because not only will we be doing all of these fun events, but Siege of Dragonspear will actually be out, and you can go play it instead of watching us taunt you and toy with you as we play with. So, the winner of the t-shirt is Crate95.
Congratulations.
Krayt95. Good Star Wars reference. You're my hero.
I was actually thinking of Crate like the poisonous snake, but I think that's actually spelled with an I, so... There's a famous short story called Poison! By Roald Dahl, I think, about a guy with this poisonous snake on his chest. And he can't move.
None of that was true. Amber just made every single bit of that up.
Totally true.
Okay.
Anyways, I'll be playing the demo today. And what we're going to do is go through some of the sections that we previewed last week at GDC. If you missed it, you can go on our blog, which is blog.beamdog.com, aka the Beam blog. And we've got a recap there with some fun pictures. GDC was a blast. Phil, what was your favorite memories from GDC?
My favorite memory from GDC, which is the Game Developers Conference for the uninitiated, it takes place in San Francisco every year. My favorite part was when we were done demoing and I could finally collapse into a pile of dust.
That was a pretty great thing. Fortunately, your phylactery was nearby and you reformed quite quickly after that.
It's a lot of work to demo every 45 minutes, but man, it was a total blast. Like we had reporters coming in and their eyes would just light up, and it was hard for them to be impartial because they were such huge fans of Baldur's Gate. One dude was like, "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to hand this review off to one of my associates because I can't be impartial here. I have to remove myself from the situation." And then he sat at the back of the room and watched and leered and lurked. But it was good.
It was pretty great.
It was a lot of fun. And we had a lot of great press. If you check out, well, just Google for Dragonspear, you'll see all kinds of news about it. We released a lot of video footage, a lot of pictures. There's a great interview with myself over at Game Reactor. It's got a lot of gameplay footage. It's a good time. It shows off some of the crazy new difficulty enhancements that we've made to the game with Legacy of Baal, which is super, super cool. But today we are going to be playing through the first little bit of Siege of Dragonspear, the part where you get to actually visit the city of Baldur's Gate for a brief while and sort of look for allies. And Amber is going to be driving the game.
So this will be a little more laid back than our usual streams. It's Saturday to start. Thank you, by the way, to our Twitch team, Alex, for coming in on a Saturday and running us through this Twitch. Thanks, Phil, for coming in on a day off. And I'll play back at a more leisurely pace, which is appropriate for a weekend, so you can really see some of the gameplay. And I'll also stop talking at certain points so that you can hear some of the voice work, which is difficult because I can't actually hear the game, so I apologize if I cut off a line. But we'll be able to show you some of what's going on. For example, here is Ski Silver Shield.
So a special shout out to all of the people joining us from the Wizards D&D stream.
Hey.
This is, of course, a Dungeons & Dragons game. It takes place in the Forgotten Realms. The interesting thing about Siege of Dragonspear is that it takes place in the Forgotten Realms of like 150 years ago versus the current Forgotten Realms. So you get to see a lot of Forgotten Realms history, which is a lot of fun.
I was just a child then. Now I'm a woman.
I love
I've even
Ski
joined-
so much. I love her
talking to
voice
Daddy
actor.
and the other
She's
dukes
so
about
petulant.
Kalar. Are you going
Ski
to
really
so
kind of
delightful.
came into her own in the expansion. I think she went from one of my most annoying characters to like one of my favorite characters.
Daddy hasn't told you everything. Did he mention he thinks Kalar might be one of Baal's children?
Daddy hasn't told you everything.
I thought not.
There's our new journal pop up
We
at
can't
the top
talk
of the
here.
screen.
I'll tell you more later.
When we were writing Ski Silver Shield, my inspiration was Paris Hilton, who is Paris Hilton, but is also like surprisingly intelligent and has like a lot of drive underneath her sort of vapid exterior that she presents to the press.
So you may have noticed when we hovered over Ski, you got to see a little highlight. And that's helpful for picking out characters when they're in a tight, clumped battle. It especially becomes helpful later in the game when we have these massive battles with like 100 combatants at once. And of course, again, like all of our new features, if you want the classic 1998 experience, it's an option that you can toggle.
The Flaming Fist is trying to keep the peace, but it's an uphill battle.
We're more than mercenaries.
This is one of the small encounters that we've put into the game. A lot of the original Baldur's Gate was small random encounters that really added to sort of like the liveliness of the world and made it seem more immersive and realistic. And so we tried to put in small touches where we could. Of course, there are large subquests that have multiple parts and things like that. But for instance, these are all the refugees that have been driven to the south by Kalar's crusade, and they're looking for shelter and protection from the Grand Dukes of Baldur's Gate. There's not enough room for them. They're massing outside the ducal palace and demanding action from Duke Elton. And this Flaming Fist guy just totally knocked down a peasant for no reason. And you go over to him and you can say, why did you do that? Or, that was pretty funny. What do you think, Phil? What should we say?
I think it was pretty funny,
All right.
to be honest. I mean,
Not surprised.
if I were in a position of power, I would be brutally, beating down the people beneath me constantly.
Sure. Nice work if you can get it right. I'd be knocking down peasants left and right if I were you.
See, there's always an option for me. I'm very happy to say that I am personally very well represented in the game.
And I got a reputation decrease for that.
Nice. Because people
There's-
saw you.
Yeah, here's our new infravision that we showed off last stream, I think, where people in the darkness are popping up on my infravision, but people who are in a light source are not because the infravision doesn't work in broad daylight or street
So
light.
someone has actually requested that we send a fireball into the crowd.
No. Well, first of all, I'm a bard, so I
But
can't.
you have some magic.
Well, that's not. I've got a flame arrow.
Later. We'll do it later.
Ooh, what about horror?
Uh-oh. Didn't work.
Oh, it didn't work.
Is that a...
Oh, I think it was a targeted spell, that's why. I'm really good at this game, by the way.
There you go, buddy.
Oh, no.
Uh,
Oh, no.
it's one thing to kill people. It's an entirely other thing to get away with it.
All right, let's go back.
Let's try it again.
This time, no fireballing the crowd. Sorry.
It is done.
All right, back outside.
You must gather your party.
Should we do a subquest in Baldur's Gate?
Let's wander around the streets a little bit. Let's go check out
Alright.
what's happening at the Iron
Flaming
Throne.
Fist is trying to keep the peace.
I'll just point out there is a little subquest over here. When you toggle the names above people now, ordinary people who don't have any quest relevance are not, what's the word? Identified?
Not highlighted, basically.
Yeah, so you don't get a million little tags here. So you can see right away there's something going on here. Here's a refugee. Here's a guy who is opened his home to the refugees, but with the caveat that they have to give him everything that they own. And
Which is fair.
is it fair though? Is it?
Generous, open-handed. Ha! If we didn't lose everything before, we surely did after we enjoyed your hospitality.
If there's one thing I want, it's a lot of refugee clothing.
You call that slop food? 3 people up
So somebody asked, when is the Dragonspear patch going to be available for BG 1 and 2? That's actually in beta right now. If you head over to the Baldur's Gate forums, you can sign up for the 2.0 beta, and you can actually try out all this stuff right now, including the brand new Shaman class, which is available for BG 1 and BG 2. The patch should hit somewhere around the same time as Dragonspear.
This is true.
I'll await you here until you're ready to go.
I'm gonna have a drink with Corin. It's Saturday.
And it's the afternoon. No one's going to judge you.
It's true.
I'm going to judge her a lot.
So,
He judges me all the time.
hero
He's
of
so
Baldur's
judgmental.
Gate. Tell me about yourself.
Let's see how Corin came
would
to
you
join
like
the
to
Flaming
know?
Fist.
So Corwin,
Ah, well,
I guess I'll let her speak
therein lies
first.
a tale, but it's
This
a
is
long
Monica Matterford, who's
My
local voice
father,
actress.
Audemars, was a fist. You could say I followed in his footsteps.
Corwin's got
I
a
did,
lot of unique stuff
eventually.
going on for her.
But it took me a
She's an
long
archer,
time
which
to
is kind of the
recognize
first
value in
archer
my
kit that
father's
we've ever had
example.
on an NPC
When I
in the
was
game
younger,
before.
I ran a bit
She doesn't
wild.
join you in the early part of the
It took a
game
lot of
because she's got a
strength and
few
patience
story
on my
functions, but
father's
later
part to
on,
set
as
me
you
on
get
the
on the
right
road, she will join you
Things
as a
would have been
fully
much
fledged party
different for me
member.
if he were a lesser man.
I also like, and I have a very strong aversion to telling people how to enjoy content. Like, when I write stories and adventures and things and publish them, I actually tend to forget what I've written, because once I send it out into the world, like, it's yours. If somebody hates it, okay, they hate it. And I'm not one who likes to tell people about, like, oh, this is the theme or whatever. But I will say that we did some fun things with Corwin and Ski as being kind of foils to each other. Corwin came from sort of a wild background, as she says here. And the Flaming Fist and her father's example as a Flaming Fist officer gave her structure. And she learned how to become more mature and, like, control her impulses so that she could do good in the world. Whereas Ski was a wild child who is still quite wild and has no sort of support from her father in that way that's leading her to become more mature. So there's a couple small bits where they talk together. And
I wasn't so different from Ski Silver Shield when
you
I
can
was
see
her
their
age.
characters develop a bit.
Thought I deserved everything.
Sacklar asked us, will we see Elminster in Dragonspear? Unfortunately, Elminster was busy at this period in time, so we were unable to include him. You will see a few other familiar faces from Baldur's Gate, though, as little cameos. I won't spoil them because it's more fun to discover them on your own, but you will see some very familiar faces.
So for this next bit is where we recruit Minsk and Dynahair. So Phil and I are going to stop talking for a couple of minutes. If you're just joining us, we're demoing some of Siege of Dragonspear, which releases as an expansion to Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition on March 31st, which is next Thursday. And you'll get to hear some of Jim Cummings' voice acting and Jennifer Hale as well as Dynahair.
Certainly.
What is it, Boo? I've never seen you so... Ah, can it be? Is this the hero of Baldur's Gate I see? Boo and I would journey to at least 7 of the hells and back for you. Probably all 9, but Boo says,
I love the way
Minsk,
Jim
be
Cummings
realistic.
because he just
This, you
throws in
know.
so much little tiny bits of character everywhere, like just little chuckles, that sort of thing. It was a lot of fun to have him in the move.
But we cannot leave our friend Dinah here undefended. Then do as the cats do to Boo when they think he is not looking and follow. Dinah here. Someone would like to speak with you.
How many times must I tell you, Minsk, I'll not debate Boo on the merits of... Is everything all right? Why art thou here? What dost thou want of
This,
me?
of course, is Jennifer Hale in one of her actual first VO roles back in 1998.
Yeah, so for Jennifer Hale to come back and be Dinah here again was actually really, really exciting for her. I was surprised that she would be interested, but the second she realized what character it was, she was like, oh my god, yes, I have to do this. Because again, Dinah here was one of the first big sort of recognizable roles that Jennifer Hale had ever done. Funny story as well, Mark Meer, the voice of Commander Shepard in Mass Effect, and more recently Rasad and a few other characters in Siege of Dragonspear, he started his career, I believe, in Throne of Baal when he was the voice of the mad god Cyric for 4 or 5 lines or something like that.
Didn't actually know that.
Yeah, so it's funny how a lot of people got their start with Baldur's Gate.
Thou wouldst face the Shining Lady, then? I know of this woman. There are those who believe her to be a daughter of the divine, perhaps even a child of Baal. She merits further investigation, and thine offer is accepted. Minsk and I will travel north.
And with Boo.
Someone asked, Thrutter asked,
Of
I should say,
course.
can we make a whole
Would
group
be
of 6
lost to
characters?
prepare yourself,
Yes.
Boo.
So if you
We
will
are about
recall,
to
or
embark
perhaps
on
not if
another
you weren't
epic
a mega fan,
adventure.
Baldur's Gate has always sort of supported the ability to create a full party of 6 custom characters. But back in the day, you had to create a multiplayer game, create all the characters, save it, leave the game, copy the save from multiplayer saves to single player, and then you could play with a full custom party. Now in Dragonspear and in BG 1 and 2, because we're patching this in, you can create an entire custom party directly from within character creation. So yes, you will be able to do that, and you'll be able to do that in better ways than you could previously. Shadowmark Returns asks, is Branwen available? Technically, she's available for the first portion of the game. She will import into Siege of Dragonspear into the initial dungeon if you carry your save over from Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. Bjorn Van Sand said, now that David Gator has joined the company, do you have any news for his Ascension mod for Throne of Baal? So Dave hasn't really worked on any BG stuff in a long, long time. He hasn't really been thinking about it. We've got him working on some other very, very exciting projects. However, if there are specific questions or things you'd like to ask David about, I'm sure we could accommodate you if you send us an email or post on our forums. Gugulug 5000 says, were any extra lines for Minsk and Dinah here recorded for the original Baldur's Gate? So no, all of this new content is primarily for Baldur's Gate Siege of Dragonspear. However, all of the returning characters have a new sound set, so you could, if you desired, copy the Minsk sound set from Dragonspear into BG1. As well, there are new player sound sets from celebrities. There's a new player sound set from Jim Cummings. So you could create a new character that has a very Jim Cummings-esque voice. It's not Minsk, it's a different voice, but it's hilarious, and I'm really excited for people to see it.
Maybe we should play a few lines from the new player sound sets.
Ooh,
What do you think?
Maybe we should.
All right. So we're going to turn up the volume on the stream a little bit. Phil and I will talk a little more quietly. But here's some of the new player sound sets that we recorded that will be available in Siege of Dragonspear.
And they're named now.
Oh, wow.
You don't stand a chance. Oh, this is such an honor. I don't know what. Oh, we've done so much today. Maybe it's what are we
male
just
jovial.
standing around for?
Oh, well.
Golden
So that was
Globe?
Melissa Disney,
Jovial.
voice of Imoen. She has some of my favorite lines, that sound set. Here is the Jim Cummings sound set.
For justice. Follow me, and we will surely be victorious. Being a hero is hard work. Time to rest. Can we move on? Now? Soon?
This was Phil's favorite.
I am
I can't actually
wounded,
hear. I don't have
but look at
headphones
how
plugged into my
I
computer, so I hope you guys are
fight
getting like really good sound. But we've also got a female sound set here by Stephanie Wolf, and it's sort of like a mage sound set is what we were going for.
Your doom approaches. Do as I say, and we will thrive.
I guess, yeah, he does kind of sound like
I
Tigger.
must rest, lest fatigue cobweb my sense. This idle time does not suit me.
How about this male
Restore
commanding
me.
voice? Who could we have gotten to do a very commanding?
Oh, stop teasing them.
intimidating-
Just hit the button.
Feel my power. Do as I say, and I'll see you through the trials that await. Rest when we can, fight when we must. This is excruciatingly dull. I will not.
So as you can
fall
see, we
here.
have a whole whack of really fun new voices in addition to the ones that are already included in the enhanced editions. So let's head upstairs and see who we can find.
Out!
It is done.
Get out, you vile, poxy snake!
I also really love that line. All right, so we'll go pick up Savannah now.
Damn you to all 9 hells, Karan! I swear I'm going to.
Svartal Filed. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. It's very foreign and strange to me. Will the sound sets be brought to
imagine you
all of the
could.
games? I believe that is the case, yeah. So in
They should be in the patch.
BG2,
And a
yeah, they
certain
should be showing up in the patch soon.
inhabitant with pointed
Because
ears
if you
and
create a
green
character
eyes.
in Dragonsphere and carry it over to BG2, you're going to need
And
that
my
sound
adventures
set.
with you have certainly been rewarding. Very well. I shall join
I'm gonna
you.
finish off one of the subquests. Here's another like random thing. This thug just like punches a guy up here and knocks him out. The first time I played it, I was like, "What is happening? Why is there a fight?" And I started to panic and like tried to find people to attack.
Ooh, get the spectacles.
I will, but first I'm gonna finish the quest with the guy who is feeding the refugees.
You are welcome in my sight.
Oh, she gave me a little potion.
You are welcome in my sight.
So after Dragonspear ships, we're going to be continually updating both Dragonspear and the other Enhanced Edition games. And so that means bug fixes, UI improvements, screen changes, that sort of thing. We're interested in just continually improving the experience for people. So if you come in 6 months later, you're still going to have an even better experience than you do now.
We're I'm playing a bard, which should come as no surprise to anyone. And we actually had a new employee join Beamdog last week as a office manager. And he caught me singing, and he's like, "Oh, wow, you really are a bard." And I was like, "Why, yes, I take my title very seriously." And so I was able to talk Lady Alith into just giving me the supplies, which otherwise would cost 1,000 gold pieces, which I don't have. And we tried to do a lot of little touches like that in the game, where having a high charisma, having a certain class, or having a certain race will give you extra options. Often they're very small. You know, we have to be thoughtful about what we include, because every character option that we add is scripting time, it's writing time, and so forth.
Yeah.
But it has such a good effect on people. Like, people really enjoy feeling like they're part of the world, that their character is someone that people can really respond to, that it was worth the time and effort.
It just makes it more immersive. It makes it feel like Baldur's Gate is a real city with real people in it doing things that are unrelated to you.
You were talking about Mark Meer a minute ago.
Speaking of Mark Meer,
I wrote this quest. I have to say I had so much fun with this, especially the responses you can get that are in the same hippie vein as Zaviak.
Shadow Lords TV asked, "Is Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition also getting these updates?" And yes, we don't have as clear of a timeline for Icewind Dale to get these patches, because we're focusing on making sure BG1 and 2 and Dragonspear are all at parity. But the plan down the line is Icewind Dale will receive a patch that has these features and enhancements. It's actually easier for us on our end to do that, to have a single code base from which all the games are derived. So I can't give you an exact date, but it's going to happen eventually.
But all I see is invisible monsters and ghosts.
It's making me
and
feel
stuff.
like really surrounded,
Making me
you know,
feel like
by my
really
surroundings.
surrounded, you know?
Mark did such a good
My
job with this.
surroundings.
So, Tats220 asked, how does the Legacy of Ball difficulty change the original game and Baldur's Gate 2? And actually in the chat right now, Alex Tomovic, one of our encounter designers, is here, and he can actually answer that in a much more technical, in-depth way than we can on the stream. So poke him, and he will write up an amazing paragraph that describes what the changes are.
I also particularly like this line where I tell him I'm not a man. He goes, "Oh, hey, man, how's it going?"
Man doesn't mean like man.
I don't know why I'm so pleased with this line, but it cracks me up like every single time.
So we were, I mean, when we were writing this game, we were like, are we getting too far outside of the Forgotten Realms, like style or box or whatever? But when you go back and actually play the original Baldur's Gate games, they're just chock full of this sort of zany, you know, out-of-place characters, and so we wanted to really include that feel into
but where
City
it's
Dragonspear.
appropriate.
Where it's appropriate, yeah. You don't want to have it happening like when the main villain shows up, you've got Captain Silly waving his flag around or something like that. We tried to put it in appropriate locations, places that wouldn't impact the main story. So if you really want to, you know, buckle down and have that serious adventure, you still can.
It's generally the side quests and some of the sillier characters are the ones that have those unusual lines. But for the main quest, I mean, it's serious material, right? A lot of people are having their lives impacted by the Crusade. And so we want to, you know, respect that and let people get a little immersed. Although when you go back and play the original Baldur's Gate, it was pretty silly.
Somebody said that we can't make an Icewind Dale game because it was a different engine. It's actually not true. Icewind Dale 2 was still the Infinity engine. They made a bunch of changes to the user interface, and as well they switched it over to 3rd edition rules, which was like it's still a massive change. But it's still actually Infinity engine. It's not as far away from these games as you might think.
So now we're going to show something we haven't shown on streams before or in our GDC demo. When you finish your activities in Baldur's Gate, you can go back to the Ducal Palace and rest for the night, because in the morning you'll be heading out with the Flaming Fist to go north to Dragonspear. And a couple of things happen. These are plot-related encounters. You talk with Ski for a bit, and I think you also talk with a mysterious figure who somehow made it into your room. And so these are plot-critical encounters. They shouldn't spoil anything because it's so early. It's just setting up for kind of the end content. But I'm going to let it play out. We're going to be quiet so you can hear some of the voice acting. And if you don't want to see, you know, a potentially important cutscene, then you can turn off the stream for like 2 minutes.
While we're heading up, did you know that there are actually 2 other Infinity Engine games that you've probably never heard about? They were released in Russia under Konung 1 and 2 names. It's sort of like this Russian folklore story.
Same when she's been poisoned.
I don't think you've triggered the finale yet.
No?
I think you have to talk to Corwin. Tell her specifically that you're not interested in going back into the city.
I will do that then. Because I want you, the viewer, to see all the exciting stuff we're working on. This is just extra buffer so that people who don't want to see it can turn off their monitor or their sound or whatever.
So you probably recognize these areas from the original Baldur's Gate, and they are in fact from the original, but we've also sort of gone in and touched them up quite a bit, because there was a bit of a jarring difference between the quality of the new areas and this area, so we wanted to smooth out that transition from classical areas to new areas.
Mostly recovered from the Crusader
And we did some things like putting in these new info points and stuff in the palace, just to jazz it up a little bit.
There's a lot of little bits and pieces that were from Icewind Dale, and that's one of them, is the little tiny, or lots and lots of tiny little bits of detail everywhere.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
So this is the Slayer of Sarevok, the hero of Baldur's Gate. How pleased I am to make your acquaintance. If it is security you desire, it would be prudent to reconsider your sleeping arrangements. I suspect the palace is strange. There lies within you barely a spark of divine consciousness, yet you bested your brother in blood, Gorion. His death was the first step of your current journey, was it not? I wonder what wisdom did he impart that left such an impression. Interesting. We will see if that is enough to bear you through the trials ahead. You do not see it yet, but another crossroads in your journey lies before you. One you will reach sooner than you think. The path you choose is of interest to me. Your path could lead in many directions. You waver, unsure whether to claim credit for your deeds or to brush them aside. I can offer you clarity, but we can speak more of this in time when I am certain that you are the one I seek. Suffice it to say that I am a man who has lost much, but would regain some measure of what was taken from me. That is all you need. I am not here to act, not yet. I am here to evaluate. Are you worthy? Is what you carry within enough? Are you strong enough to overcome the challenge? Only the passage of time will provide us answers. I'm curious to see how this plays out. I will be watching.
Oh, you're back. Sorry if I don't seem excited to see you. Poison, really? You don't know him? He said he was a friend of yours. We've known some pretty strange characters, so I didn't think it was weird to have someone pop in looking for you. Forget about him. We need to talk about your going to battle the Crusade. I know you think you have to do this, but I am telling you, you don't. Not only do you not have to do it, I'm healing. But you need to heal too. Not just from fighting Saravok. Those are just cuts and scars. But in coming to terms with, you know, what you are. I'd have you tell the city to take a long walk off a short pier, that's what I'd have you do. But you won't, will you? I know that look in your eyes. I'm wasting my breath. Promise me you'll be careful, all right? I don't know what I'd do if... We've just lost too many people, you know? I'm gonna leave now. Take care of yourself.
So, one person in the stream had a question. Baron Tor asked, has there been any thought about Aurora Engine and the Neverwinter series with Beamdog? We don't really comment on any future game projects that we may or may not be doing. Obviously, because Trent was the lead designer or producer on the Neverwinter Nights games, he's very, very interested in them. But we have nothing to report at this time.
You can't tell Daddy.
Another question from Saintocraft was, is that a new Imoen portrait? It is indeed. So Imoen has a brand new portrait along with a few other returning characters. Imoen's portrait is sort of a halfway point between her portrait in BG1 and her portrait in BG2. As well, there was a question, does Imoen's transition from thief to mage get explained? And it does actually get explained earlier in the game, actually, from where we are now. But it's actually, it comes up a few times.
So we just woke up in the middle of the night from Ski saying hey a million times. And now she's giving you the big revelation that she's joined the Flaming Fist.
No.
She joined under a false name. I'm trying to remember what it is, but it's hilarious. It's like Phoenix Golden Shield or something like that.
Life as a noble is boring and stupid. I want to do something great with my life.
Just the delivery on these lines makes me laugh every time.
I know. All right, go back to sleep. I'll see you in... Oh, I guess you don't remember. Whatever you do,
Bye, Ski.
Don't tell Daddy about this.
So you do have the option later to tell Duke Silvershield what Ski has told you, but that's an option. You can choose to keep her confidence. You can choose to talk to the Duke. I'm going to skip talking to the Duke right now because that will leave you something to discover when Dragonspear comes out on the 31st. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it's almost time.
So just to recap, Siege of Dragonspear is an expansion pack for Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, so you do need to own Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition to play it. The expansion pack by itself is $20 US. We also have a digital deluxe edition, which is $40, and that includes the soundtrack for the games. And as well, there's also a collector's edition, which is a physical boxed product. and it's a total throwback to 1999. It's like a big box. You get like a thick spiral-bound manual. There's a metallic pendant of the dragon head, actually this one. You get a little bag of dice. You get a little leather booklet with a metallic coin embedded in it that you can remove. And the leather booklet is really cool. It's like a journal of a man's journey up to Dragonspear Castle and what he saw along the way. As well, you get a DRM-free copy of the game. And when you buy the collector's edition, you get a digital key as well. So you can play Siege of Dragonspear right away while you wait for the collector's edition to arrive.
It's true. I'm very excited about the collector's edition. Also, the Siege of Dragonspear themed issue of the Familiar released last week, or this week, I guess, technically still. It's available on iOS and Android through the App Store and Google Play. Also, you can read it for free on beamdog.com at thefamiliar.beamdog.com. And it's all about Siege of Dragonspear. It's got an article all about the making of the collector's edition. It's got a look at the art of Dragonspear, of the original pen and paper campaign that inspired some familiar characters like Minsk. It's got a copy of Minsk's original pen and paper character sheet that Cam found like in his closet somewhere.
More on that later.
Yes. And so now we're leaving the city of Baldur's Gate. There are some, obviously, this whole bunch, and even in this small sort of a, like it's not a combat scene, you can see how many sprites that we're able to fit on a screen now without any sort of, reduction in gameplay speed or anything like that. Like, look at all these
And you can
people.
fireball all of them. All of them can die. I'm sorry, I got a little excited.
I think there was a question about Savannah's stats. Is that it?
Yeah, has Savannah's stats changed from BGE to Dragonspear? I believe her stats have changed.
I don't know. I can't remember if her stats have changed, but her skills have.
Yeah. Because she's one of the few thieves available in Dragonspear, we had to up her effectiveness a little bit to make her more useful as a character.
So you can see her open locks and find traps have a lot of skill, and she's already got 50% on her hide in shadows and move silently.
This screen's actually a good example of something that we'll be updating over time. So we had a lot of great feedback about this screen, things that people would like to see, that sort of thing. And so we are definitely going to be updating it in the future. And in a little while, we'll have some threads in our forums which sort of lay out our plans going forward.
Yeah.
We want to have a lot more community involvement in these designs because we had to go dark for quite some time while developing Siege of Dragonspear to keep things under wraps, but now that the game is out, we want to have much, much more involvement from the fans, what they need, what they want from the user interface to be sorted out on our end.
And we definitely want more frequent updates, more frequent small updates as opposed to giant monolithic updates that happen like every 2 years.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on the forums for more information about that. As Phil mentioned earlier, we've got the public beta going on right now for Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition. So if you want to weigh in on things like the new character screen, join up there.
Yeah. Overall, we're just trying to be a much more open company. I mean, Amber alone is sort of dragging us in that direction as the marketing and publishing coordinator. And in the past, we've been pretty, secretive, not because we're stealthy dudes who want to keep things to ourselves, but just because we didn't want to say anything that might give people the wrong impression. We didn't want to lead people on about what we were or were not doing. So we're really getting a lot better about keeping you guys in the loop. And I'm proud to say that, The Familiar is a perfect example of that. It's this amazing magazine that's full of background information. And our forums are becoming a very, very lively place that we keep a very close eye on. So if you want to help us guide the direction of Baldur's Gate in the future.
Help us help you.
Yeah.
Help us help our players.
It's a cliche saying, but it's true. Like, we want your input so that we can make Baldur's Gate better. Jonalawa, I pronounced that wrong, 88 says, maybe this was already answered, but wasn't Entar Silvershield supposed to have been murdered? I'm guessing someone raised him. There's actually two ways that can play out in BG. You can actually save his life in BG, but the canon ending of Baldur's Gate is that he was in fact saved. Now this came specifically from Wizards of the Coast way, way, way back in the day, where they requested, okay, whatever you do in Baldur's Gate is fine, but the canon outcome must be that Duke Silvershield did survive. And so that's the sort of conclusion we come to. You can actually ask him about it when you encounter him. I believe there's a dialogue
If you
option.
imported a party where
Yeah.
he died, you can say, "Aren't you dead?" And he's a little thing to say.
Death is a very funny concept in the Forgotten Realms. Sometimes it's permanent, sometimes it's not. We actually show a very important distinction between those two things later in the game.
So I'm going to leave Baldur's Gate now and head on our journey north to Dragonspear. After this point, I won't be able to come back to the city. So we've got a couple of places where Corwin says, make sure you've finished all your subquests because you can't come back to the city. And you get to make a little speech. So here's the leaving Baldur's Gate scene.
There you are. The caravan's at the palace gate. Ready to head to Dragonspear if you are.
Look at those beautiful colors.
Top one. Pick the top one. Be nice. Be nice for once.
I'm just giving people at home a chance to see what the options are. You're probably right. I'm going to say the nice option.
Captain Shale Corwin and her aide, Corporal Bence Duncan, maintain order in the caravan from Baldur's Gate. Some who joined the expedition are unaccustomed to flaming fist discipline. Hard lessons are learned in the early days of the march north. The journey is slowed by the Crusade's victims. A multitude of broken, haunted men and women clog the coast way. When asked, they speak of fields set aflame, granaries ransacked, and family conscripted by the Crusade. Yet many characterize these hardships as necessary sacrifices in pursuit of a greater good. A strange acceptance, even admiration of Kalar Argent is disconcertingly common in those she has wronged. Some proclaim the Shining Lady a prophet,
done by now.
doing the work of not...
So as you can see, there's a lot of tie-ins to Baldur's
And
Gate,
what
the
of
story
your
of Baldur's Gate,
goals?
Baldur's Gate 2. You really don't know what
Many souls were lost
Kalar
during the
is,
Dragonspear
what her
Wars.
goals are, or
I
even
will
who
see
she is at the
justice
beginning
done
of
and
the
restore
game,
them
and a
to
lot
the
of the activity
Yes,
is you
quite
trying to discover what her purpose is.
But what makes you think yourself capable of achieving this?
So like BG2, there's little cutscenes that sort of show what the villains are up to at the beginning of each chapter.
Dare befoul my person with your magics?
Blood is something to behold, not fear. Your divine heritage radiates from you. From which of your parents, mother or father?
Enough of these games and enough of your questions. Heffernan, get this mage out of my sight.
At once, my lady. We will have words about this scarred one.
Perhaps.
All right, so here we are, Coastway Classic.
Just to briefly mention, there's a whole ton of people saying that they really, really love the Familiar.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much. That's really great to hear. At GDC last week, I got to meet with the Dialect Crew, which is a company that publishes The Familiar. And we drummed up a whole bunch of really great ideas about where it's going to go in the future. And I'm very, very excited. So thank you for reading. Leave a review if you liked it.
I really, really like The Familiar because, I mean, I don't read a lot of digital magazines because I find most digital magazines are just, hey, these are just really elaborate advertisements, please buy our game. And so when we started discussing the concept of The Familiar, one of the main things we wanted to do was this magazine should have a lot of content that you want to read. You don't just want to read advertisements, you want to read interesting bits of information that you otherwise wouldn't have known. So The Familiar isn't just about Baldur's Gate, it's about CRPGs in general. The first issue is all about other companies like Endspace with Sword Coast Legends. It talks about Obsidian with Pillars of Eternity. We're very, very interested in giving you information that is interesting and isn't just trying to sell you things.
I was really pleased to see someone on the forums, I'm totally going to mangle the name, Kamagoroshi, saying that they were very excited that next issue, which is called The Unfamiliar, is going to have an interview with the people behind Never Alone, which is one of my favorite games. And it's not technically a CRPG maybe, but it's such an inventive and beautiful game that I really wanted to cover it. And that's really what The Familiar is all about, is just bringing information that's exciting. Hey, Edwin. I'm going to talk to this elf here because this is a really fun subquest that I wrote, and it's one of my favorites. So she was singing to a rock. Do you always sing at natural objects that fascinate you? I do. This is why I put so much of my personality into this quest. And because I'm a bard, I can actually do things with this quest that other character classes cannot.
It is done.
And you can also ask Stefana to sing because she has a really high charisma. Ooh, something happens. I wonder what happens if you find all 6 Minears. I won't actually show that so you can see the ending of the quest yourself, but it's pretty fun.
A guy named Threader mentioned Chapter 8, question mark. So yes, because Seed of Dragonspear is an expansion pack for Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, which ends at Chapter 7, now we've added more chapters onto the end of that game. So you start Seed of Dragonspear in Chapter 8. Well, technically, you finish off Chapter 7, and then you move into Chapter 8.
Here we've got an inn, like a roadside inn, that was burned down by crusaders traveling through the area. It's very sad.
Someone asked if we have custom formations. We do not have custom formations in Siege of Dragonspear, but if you right-click on the formations, you can see all of the different options available to you now, including one fun one on the far left, which is Follow the Leader, where you only control one character and the rest follow. Now that's not super useful for dungeons, but when you're wandering through cities, it's a lot of fun.
Your can certainly.
I'll go back to my regular formation. Oh wait, that's not it.
The classic 2x3
Yeah.
that everyone uses, but it's not actually that good.
I like it though. It feels like classic Baldur's Gate to me.
It does. It's all about the T, or the triangle with the mage in the back.
Ah, yeah. That's a good one too. So let's see. Where should we go from here, Phil? There's some sort of an entertainment area to the north. The Crusade has taken the bridge to the east, and there's a dungeon to the south.
Let's go dungeoneering.
All right.
Because we haven't really seen much of that yet.
To the dungeon.
To the dungeon.
And we've mentioned before on these streams, we really tried to put in a lot of side quests and things like that where people can just wander around, explore these beautiful maps, see, all the beautiful new art, and not necessarily just follow one storyline. Even though it's an expansion, you know how it's going to start with the end of Baldur's Gate 1. You know how it's going to end with the start of Baldur's Gate 2. But there's a lot of fun that you can do in the meantime. One of the big challenges that we faced was that because the storyline here is that there's a big immediate threat to the Sword Coast, you often have to have a justification for why your character is wandering off the beaten path. And we tried to put that in so people wouldn't feel like they had to get as fast as they can to Dragonspear and skip all the great stuff along the way. And so, for example, in this area, the Crusade has taken the bridge to the east, which leads on to the Dragonspear Castle, the Coastway Road. And so while the camp has paused trying to figure out what to do about the Crusade, you have the opportunity to wander around and explore a little bit. No, zombies. Shoot them in the head.
I think you're on a really low difficulty.
Oh, maybe I am.
Just crank that mother up. It's
I'm
like
a
core
little.
rules, yeah.
So this is a character that was actually won in a contest that we did in our Baldur's Gate 2 patch live stream. And someone won the chance to name a character in Dragonspear, and it's Darren Highhammer. Some nice verminating. So we gave him a lot of lines because he was won in a contest.
I've wasted enough time on you.
So let's go see what happened to the dwarves.
So initially this quest seems a little like standard, you know, oh, they dug too greedily and they dug too deep. But as you get further into it, you can see it's a bit of a different take on a dwarven quest. Svartalfiled, again, I don't know, like, come on, guys. When you asks, when you finish BGE, will you get forwarded to Siege of Dragonspear like you get forwarded from Shadows of Om to Throne of Ball? Yes. So if you have the expansion installed, when you finish off Saravok, you get forwarded over to Dragonspear. Somebody wanted to see the map again. We'll explore a bit more and then we'll activate it.
Yeah, I can do that.
The map now sort of zooms out to show you more clearly where you were. And there's also a really useful toggleable overlay that will highlight the parts of the ground that you can actually walk on. Now this is super handy, especially in Icewind Dale, but it's super handy here because there's a lot of times when you're like, this dungeon looks great, and I think I've found everything, but I'm not. Like, I must be missing a hallway somewhere. So it fades off into darkness and you can kind of see. So if you hit the map screen and then turn on the area map background, you can see at the top, the right, the bottom, it fades off a bit, so you have a nice visual indicator of where you need to explore. And then you can toggle it back off when you're done with it.
And you can add map notes or turn the map notes off. And you can add them.
Somebody asked, or Timmy24 is me asks, any cool Easter eggs to find? Like, for example, talk to Elvenhair 30 times, as in the BG1 prologue. Yeah, there's a few Easter eggs scattered throughout the game. I mean, there's some really, really noticeable ones, and there's some much, much more hard to find ones. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you, otherwise they're not Easter eggs then.
Yes.
But yes, that is probably one of the more fun parts of being a game developer, is getting to add these little Easter eggs.
There's one that's definitely a reference to King's Quest. If you were a King's Quest fan, you might be able to find it. Phil is extremely happy about
the
this.
King's Quest hat.
Yes. There's one that's a tribute to Terry Pratchett, because he passed away when we were writing Dragonspear, and most of us were big Terry Pratchett fans, so there's an item that you can find that has something to do with his books. There's just so many little bits and pieces that we wouldn't want to spoil for you, but keep your eyes open and you'll find some interesting bits.
Autocrat said, I'd love a developer commentary mode. That is actually something that we are looking into doing. It's something we'd like to do for BG 1 and 2 as well. The ideal scenario would be us getting the original developers like James Allen to talk about stuff, but we'll have more information on that when we get closer to actually building it. But it is something we'd love to do.
Yeah, it is. Actually, when we went to Wizards of the Coast last December, we went just for sort of our usual everyday meeting that we do from time to time. And I was showing off the game we were demoing, and I was showing Ben Petrazor some of the different things and telling him little stories. And Cam goes, you should record a commentary mode for Dragonspear. And of course, at the time, we're finishing up Dragonspear. We're, I'm out of fireballs. We're, have a lot of things going on. So we weren't able to get onto that right away, but sometime this summer, I'm hoping that we can look at doing a developer's commentary mode so that people can learn all the cool things that we did.
Blood Particle asks, the Steam achievements, are they ready or do they start with SOD?
I don't think they're ready yet. I think they're still being tested.
They're actually available in the 2.0 patch for BG1 and
right.
2. And then when Siege drops, there will be even more achievements. So there's a set of achievements for BG1, a set of achievements for Dragonspear, and then a combined set of achievements for Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition, which covers Shadows of Om and Throne of Ball. Ijutsu Master asks, will there be a secret character like in BGEE 1 and 2? Not really a secret, I guess.
I don't think there's... No, I don't think we have any secret characters.
Okay, yes. Technically, that is a secret that you can do that, but I don't know if it'll be considered secret for very long. So I hate being cryptic like that, but yes, there is a character that you can recruit in this game that you would not expect.
Really?
CMK82 asks, is there any new battle music for Siege? Yes, there's tons of new music for Siege. It's got an entire soundtrack. There's new character themes, new environment themes, new ambient tracks, new combat tracks, and it all blends very seamlessly with the original Baldur's Gate 1 soundtrack. So it sounds great. And when you get the digital deluxe edition or the collector's edition, you'll actually get a copy of that soundtrack to do with as you please. Although please don't just spread it around on the internet.
I'm going to fight these carrion crawlers. Maybe you could tell people, again, what the release date is and what they can expect on release day if they pre-purchased a digital deluxe or collector's edition.
Well, on March 31st, Dragonspear will be available. So if you buy the regular edition, the game will unlock. You can play it, and it'll be great. If you buy the digital deluxe edition, you will get the base game, and you will also get the soundtrack, which will be available to do with as you please, as I just mentioned. All day during the release, we're going to be doing streams. We're going to be giving away prizes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, a lot of people are going to be busy playing the game, but for those of you who are stuck at work yet still able to watch Twitch, we will be here streaming and talking about Dragonspear. And that's coming up this Thursday. I believe the time for the release is timed for us here in Edmonton, so if you're in Australia, I'm very, very sorry that you have to wait a little bit longer, but that's what you get for living on the bottom of the world.
We love you, Australia. We'll be putting up a schedule of what is going on release day on the blog next week, and we'll also send out a newsletter with information. So definitely, if you want to participate, celebrate with us that Dragonspear is finally released and going to be enjoyed by all, then you can.
Again, you can go to beamdog.com to pre-order Siege of Dragonspear, or you can go to siegeofdragonspear.com to pre-order. We will be available on March 31st on Beamdog, which is our website for Mac and PC. And we will also be available on Steam, if you prefer to buy on Steam, for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So all 5 of you Linux gamers, hurrah.
And we'll be supporting iOS and Android releases going forward after the main release.
So the tablet, like iPad and Android tablets, it's not going to be March 31st. It'll come a little bit after that. But you will be able to play back and forth between tablets, phones, and desktops.
I just found a whole bunch of undead.
Another cool thing we perhaps didn't mention is when you finish Siege of Dragonspear, you can export directly into Baldur's Gate 2. And the neat thing that we're doing now is more of your items will carry over from Siege of Dragonspear into Baldur's Gate 2. Now, they don't just show up in the little armory room outside of the Arenicus's torture cages, but they're scattered sort of throughout the game world. So it's neat. You get to rediscover these cool items that you once had. So it's like, I miss my, +2 double-handed sword of badassery. And when you're fooling around in the Shadow Temple, you're just like, hey, there it is, hooray. It's like coming back to an old friend.
And as you can see here, with the gameplay options, no, wait. I always get gameplay and graphics confused.
Somebody was skeptical that we can actually play BG on a phone. You can.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, on a small phone, it's going to be harder than it is, say, a tablet and a desktop.
Uh-oh.
But like on the Note, the Samsung Note 4 or whatever, it's actually really, really nice. We have a lot of people who like to play it when they're doing their commute to and from work. Or I think Trent actually played through most of Baldur's Gate on a beach once with his phone.
Yeah. Phil, why did you tell me to put the difficulty up?
Because I wanted to see you suffer. I wanted to see you suffer a lot.
So it's a terrible, terrible idea. Half of my party is paralyzed.
Are you really going to let Minsk die? How could you let him die? He's a beloved character, Amber. You're messing up. What's going on?
I asked you not to yell at me at work anymore, Phil.
Somebody asks, Tats220 asks, at what time on the 31st does the game become available on Steam? I don't have an exact hour for you, but I would assume sometime after noon.
It is noon PDT.
Noon PDT, there you go.
And that is when your digital downloads will become available as well. Oh, I think I might survive. Maybe. It's possible.
Are there any golden pantaloons in Siege? So we actually had a really long, drawn-out discussion about that. Mostly me arguing both sides of it. But in the end, we decided the golden pantaloons quest is already sort of done. We didn't want to, like, when you get the big unit at the end of that quest, like, you're already so ridiculously overpowered. We didn't want to make it yet more powerful. So there are no pantaloons, although you do need to take the pantaloons from BG1 through Siege to the end. So don't think that you're getting away with not keeping your pants around.
Oh, look, all of my party members survived, including Minsk. In your face, Phil.
How did that happen? I thought you were paralyzed and that changing the difficulty was going to be a terrible idea.
Maybe you underestimated my gaming skills. Just because I'm a girl, Phil, doesn't mean
Maybe
that I can't play video games.
Maybe you underestimated my directions.
Maybe you underestimated my face.
Maybe you misunderestimated.
Maybe you re-estimated. All right, fine. I'm going to rest. I'm going to save, then I'm going to rest. Because look how damaged my party is, and I have no spells. And Minsk got level drained. This is terrible.
So speaking of Minsk, this is actually a perfect way to sort of cap off the stream here because we're actually closing up in a minute here.
Really? Wow, that went fast.
Minsk, as Amber mentioned earlier, was originally created back in like 96, 97 because James Olen, the guy who is responsible for the Baldur's Gate plots back when it was at BioWare, he was DMing a tabletop D&D game in Grand Prairie, Alberta, which is this like tiny speck of a town that's 4 hours north of Edmonton. I used to live there. It was a nightmare. And so Cam showed up once to be a member of this D&D group. And so he's like, all right, I'm going to make like a ranger. His name's going to be Minsk, blah, 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 blah. It was great. In that original group were characters like Saravok, Edwin, John Icarus, who would later become John Irenicus. They were all sort of inspired by this original D&D group. And so the funny thing with Minsk was that Cameron had joined the group quite a bit later than the rest of the players, so Minsk was very like low level. And so Minsk would get knocked out at the beginning of every single fight. And so he's like, well, I'm a ranger. Can I like have a familiar or a companion or something?
Animal companion.
And so James Olen, like after weeks of like, no, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't have like a venomous talking snake. Eventually they settle on, okay, you can have a hamster, and that'll be your familiar. And so Cam's like, well, clearly it's a, you know, miniature giant space hamster. And James is just like,
whatever, dude.
Yeah, okay, whatever. So it was a lot of fun. But anyway, so Minsk would go down at the beginning of every single fight, and then Boo would be scurrying around the battlefield performing actions for Cam because that's all he could do. And so over time, like, Boo developed this incredible mythology, but he was still just a little hamster wandering around.
Yeah. And they had kind of a bond, Cam recalls, like they could psychically communicate in James's game. I went to sleep in the dungeon and I got a dream sequence, and I think that's a good place to stop there because I don't want to spoil what your dreams tell you. But you can get a cool look at some of the dream geography kind of that we've developed for this screen, and yeah, Saravok there. If you heard his voice when the dream started, that is Kevin Michael Richardson, who played Saravok in BG1 and 2.
And so Saravok, again, a character that came out of that original gaming session. If you check out the latest issue of The Familiar, which is at thefamiliar.beamdog.com, you can actually see an interview with both James Olen and Cameron Topher, two of the guys that were in that gaming group. And you get to see the original Minsk character sheet with like the pencil marks everywhere and like what he's carrying and all that stuff. It's really cool. So it has existed for 20 years now, and we've scanned it and put it online.
Bit of Baldur's Gate history there. So should we give away one more T-shirt before we wrap up?
I guess we could give away one more T-shirt.
Oh, God. As we mentioned earlier, we are totally professional, and we completely intended to get that T-shirt so that it covered the camera for a moment. If you're wondering why we suddenly lost visuals.
I'm going to need to see that on the stream.
That was practiced like 100 times, and Phil, you did it first try. Good job. So here's a T-shirt we're going to give away. If you'd like to win it, type !prize, all one word, in the chat room on Twitch right now. So that's !prize, all one word, or Z if you're American. And we'll pick a random winner. That was actually quite miraculous, Phil. I didn't know. We're not going to send you the one Phil rubbed his face on.
We are actually. She's
No,
lying. She's making that
no.
up. Not only have I rubbed my face on it,
Phil, I'm going to stop you right there.
but I also spit on it.
You did not. This is what happens when we come in on Saturdays. We get goofy. You know, Trent's on vacation right now, so he's not here to stop us. And like he usually is. I think like 90% of Trent's job is stopping us from being ridiculous.
Which, to be fair, has saved our bacon many a time.
It's kind of a full-time position.
Kind of.
Thanks, Trent. Thanks for being
So
awesome.
the winner of the T-shirt is Sacklar.
Yay, Sacklar.
Sacklar has won a T-shirt.
It's a fantastic name.
We will send it to you in a sack.
If you want a T-shirt on the Twitch today, you can private message the Beamdog account on Twitch, and they'll give you instructions on how to claim your prize, which is amazing.
It is amazing. It's a T-shirt.
So, Dragonspear comes out on the 31st. That's like 5 or so short days away. It's pretty incredible. Yeah. I'm very pleased actually with the atmosphere in the office. People are excited about this release. We folded it into our release schedule so well and done so much prep work that it's actually relatively low pressure for us in terms of release. Obviously, we're still worked up and hoping that everything will go well and taking every precaution that we can to make sure that it's an amazing release experience for everyone. But it's a lot calmer feeling than releases have been in the past. Like, I feel like we've really gone into a new age of Beamdog.
Externally, it's calm. Inside of my head, there are a series of paintings by Wayne Barlow that depict hell as this nightmarish location full of marching demons and people whose souls have been crushed down into bricks to create these impossibly grotesque structures. And that's just a little bit of insight into my current mindset.
To be fair, his mind is always like that, not just at release date.
Now it's got a red tint.
A slight red overlay. I meant to mention this a bunch of weeks ago, and then I forgot. People have been curious about the level cap in Baldur's Gate, in Siege of Dragonspear. I think
500,000.
It's 500,000 XP.
Yeah. Which
so
is higher than it used to be. If you go into BG2, you can import a character that's a little higher than you otherwise normally would have been able to import. However, BG2 accommodates that beautifully, and we put in a bunch of work to make sure that it's a nice, smooth transition. So you might have a little bit of an advantage at the start, but over time the game evens out, and you'll quickly forget that you have that advantage. And then, as well, you know, you could always crank up the difficulty.
That's
There's
true.
the new Legacy of Baal difficulty that
Legacy
is
of Baal.
brutal. It's like the Heart of Fury mode from Icewind Dale.
Originally, we wanted to call it Hard as Balls, but Trent made us stop.
That was shouted down in the press club.
Yeah, that was too bad.
Unfortunately.
I think that's all we have for you today.
So see you later.
I hope you appreciated this more in-depth look at some of the voice acting and storyline behind Siege of Dragonspear, and that'll tide you over for the next 5 days until it releases on March 31st. Come back to Twitch then, and you can see us during the release day activities. Keep an eye on the Beamblog.
Running purely on caffeine. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We will see you soon.
Bye.
Have a great rest of your Saturday.